like that.
Bingo!
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Equipment considerations. By the way, the sun's coming up here in Ponchatoula. I'm looking out my window. It is beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you, Jesus, for a beautiful morning. Anyways, equipment considerations. You're going to get into this. However, you've cooked in the backyard, cooked for friends and family, so you're cooking on something, and something's working. I'll tell you straight up, excuse me, you probably have what you need right now to compete. But you're quickly going to want to make an investment in some equipment. Here's the Weber called WSM. You don't hear a lot about it. I mean, you don't see it a lot, but you can get a hold of these at barbecue shops or online. It's called WSM, Weber Smoky Mountain. These particular cookers, the small one goes for $2.99, the larger one for $3.99, and these are fantastic competition cookers. And there's guys out there that compete on a national scale, are nationally ranked, that cook on exclusively on WSMs. One of the things, and I have one, I have a 22-inch, and that really got me converted over into the wet cooking arena before I bought my Backwoods. The only drawback of a WSM, as with any cooker, is that we're faced with certain situations and weather conditions. If it's raining, and particularly if the wind's blowing, it has a tendency to really pull the heat down on the thin-walled WSMs, and so insulated cookers become real important when you're dealing with bad weather. If it's good weather, it's not an issue, but you can't count on it being good weather. And it can, the wind and temperature real variations when you're trying to cook your big pieces of meat can wreak havoc on you. And so that's the only consideration. Now, guys that have WSM sometimes will have the big wind breaks. Have like pieces of sheet metal hinged or some way to block the wind from them, from getting on them. Like I said, I started off with that, and then I moved into the arena of Backwoods. We actually built some smokers, some offset smokers, but again, the wind was making things very difficult for me, and it took me about 1.5 years before I finally bit the bullet and said, you know what, I'm going with Backwoods. And so I cook on Backwoods. I have a Chubby and a Party. I can't say enough about them. They're insulated cookers. They do a fantastic job. Once I get them to temperature, they stick at 250 regardless of what's going on, so I can hold temperature exactly what I want. It takes that part of the cooking process off my mind. Takes care of it and does it, and like I said, does a great job. It's a wet cooking environment, and there's, that's part of what you'll decide whether you want to be a dry cooker, stick cooker, or a wet cooker. And again, your barbecue equipment and your cookers, like I said, you can go from a $3.99, $2.99 Weber WSM to a Jambo or a Yoder trailer, beautiful pits that are $10, $15, $20,000 just for the pit that you're pulling behind your camper, your truck. So, and they do great jobs. But yeah, I mean, you still got to cook. A cooker ain't gonna do it for you. You still have to cook and win it. Okay, your cooking environment, tents, trailers, etc. Again, getting started, 99.9% of us all start off with, a tent type situation, unless you already have a motorhome or trailer or something like that. But that's the way I started. I started off with a couple of tents, and quickly learned that I needed some wind protection. which, like I said, was wreaking havoc on the cookers and drawing the temperature down. So, you know, it looked like when I started off, it looked like Beverly Hillbillies. You know, I mean, I had my trailer and had all this stuff packed on it, and, you know, I had it tarped and cookers and tents and all that kind of stuff. But it's a great way to get started, but you always have to prepare for wind protection. So if you're doing tents, you need to have walls, and you know, so they have those tents that have those wall setups, but you need to have a way to get out of the wind when you're cooking, and then specifically when you're putting your boxes together. You don't want to be standing out there in the open, wind blowing and everything blowing your parsley and everything else apart, or whatever you're garnishing your box with. So you have to have some wind protection. And then you can also have running water. That was my first major upgrade. I bought a sink, which I actually have in my trailer for sentimental reasons. Bought one of those standalone like laundry room sinks, and you know, just ran a hose to it for the water. Ran a drain line, you know, out of it, and had that, because you're gonna be doing a lot of washing dishes and things like that. So running water is an amazing benefit to you.
Okay, now this might not seem like a big deal to anybody else. This is a major leap in my barbecue career. Major! You're wondering, well, what is it? Watch this! Running water!
Okay. Heat and bugs. Most of the time the competitions are during the summer months, and so a lot of times it's hot outside, and you want to be prepared for that. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but barbecue competitions are physically demanding. That's part of why it's absolutely a sport. You're going to be on your feet for a lot longer period of time than you probably typically are. And you're not going to get a lot of sleep, and especially when you're getting started. And so you want to be and create a comfortable environment as you can. So you're going to be dealing with heat issues, so make sure you have a fan along that you can plug in and get some air circulating, and not cook yourself up out there. Also, again, you're going to be outside, and there's going to be bugs. You're going to have bugs running around, so make sure you have your bug spray, make sure you have a fan, and make sure you have sunscreen, because you don't want to get sunburned while you're out there as well. Now, today my setup is absolutely fantastic for a one-man team. You know, I'm sitting in a little trailer. It's a 12-foot V-nose cargo trailer with a 7-foot ceiling. I have air conditioning in it. I have a sink. I have my prep table. You know, thank you, Jesus. It's a wonderful, wonderful setup for, like I said, a one-man team. I have enough room that I have a cot that I pull out that I sleep on, grab a couple hours, you know, at night, a couple naps. But the key for the setup is counter space. Whether you're doing it on a tent, in a tent situation, or you're doing it in a trailer, really what you gotta have a lot of counter space, because when it gets to crunch time and you're turning in multiple products, you got a lot of things going at the same time, things are cooking there and there. I mean, you need to have places where you can set things and work things and whatnot, and counter space is key. I have the table, I have the shelf underneath it, I have the sink, I have lots of counter space that works really great, so you want to make sure that you have that. But this setup, again, as you get into it, you're going to start to look at options and things that you're going to do. Again, you can go from, you know, fairly minimal investment on my part, from this trailer that I had converted from a cargo trailer, to motor homes and all kinds of setups that can run you into very, very, very big dollars. Another thing that you're going to want to have, whether it's in your tent or whether it's in your trailer, you're going to want to have a kitchen toolbox, so to speak. And keep in mind that when you're at a competition, you need to bring the entire kitchen. You're at a cooking event. I mean, spatulas and pots and temperature probes and knives and you know, plastic wrap and foil and plastic bags. I mean, there's basically, you're bringing an entire kitchen with you. So what a lot of us guys have done is we'll get a tool chest, you know, a Craftsman tool chest or something like that that we take with us. It's a wheel, so I can wheel it on and off the trailer. But that's where I have everything organized. You know, I have my knives in there. I have my pots, pans that I need, spatula, like I said, you know, everything that I need during the cooking process, timers, probes, sanitary latex gloves, I mean, you name it, as well as, you know, like hose splitters and electric extension cords and tape, and, you know, just everything you'll find that you need. And a lot of that I have listed on the list that I'll provide, you know, a little bit later. But to have a place where all that's organized is a must-have for you. And again, you can have that tool chest when you're doing the tent setup, or when you're doing the, you know, the trailer. And sometimes, you know, guys with trailers obviously have shelves and stuff that they put it in. You're going to want to get yourself a fire extinguisher, the right size to work. You know, I have kind of a medium-sized one, and you're going to make sure that you get that inspected and you have a current certification tag on that. Some of the competitions require it, so you don't want to get stuck without having your competition or your fire extinguisher for the competitions. Sanitation, you're going to want to have a setup where, just like in a restaurant, you know, or health departments have, is you have your wash, rinse, and sanitize. So you're going to need to have those three processes covered. You can do it with 3 different tubs. You know, a 3-tub sink is a great thing to have, but somehow or another you need to plan on the sanitation. And because, look, you're cooking, so you want to make sure that your cooking area is clean, free from debris. You want to keep your disinfectant or your cleaner available at all times. Wash all your surfaces, keep those clean, keep them sanitized throughout the process. And again, that's why anytime you're handling the meat, wear gloves. It's just a great habit to get into, and, you know, just keep it safe. You know, you wouldn't want to eat stuff that was made in a real dirty environment. So even when you're doing the tent setup, you can isolate it and make sure that you keep it clean. So keep it clean.